So we're going to review the outcomes of the in-place OS upgrade that I demonstrated or started to demonstrate in class on Friday. And so the goal on Friday was for everyone to be able to speak all manner of reasons why in-place upgrades are a bad idea. And then I started to demonstrate an in-place upgrade on a server using a virtual machine remotely. And today what we're going to do is walk through the screenshots that were captured and the outcomes of that in-place upgrade. That's what will be in this link under session recordings in module 2. And I'll go ahead and make that visible to students after we get that in place. Then we're going to take a short pause in the class. I'm going to halt the Zoom session. I'll stop it completely, and I'll ask you to take like a 30-second break and then rejoin Zoom. At that point, I'm going to go back to module 1, and I am going to go over the assessment items completely this time, now that we've removed the error that caused the problem before. We'll have a separate recording that we post in resources, so that inside here under session recordings, we'll have a new recording of the assessment review. And I've also extended the availability of the reconciliation for the module 1 assessment until 11:59 p.m. Wednesday this week, so that you have a little more time. We understand that students over in St. Thomas were plagued with power outages and a whole variety of issues. Are there any questions before we begin our two-part session today? Okay, so welcome, James. How are you? All right, what we're going to do is zip back here. And in my, can everyone see my screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Hello?
So, yes, hello.
Yeah, this is James Warner. I was wondering if you have a message regarding the Blackboard incident. Could talk after class.
If I got it, okay, your audio was garbled, and let's check in with each other as soon as the class is done, okay? I just extended the deadline for the reconciliation in module 1 because of the power outages and service glitches, so that students had more. So if your email was expressing a concern about those gaps, then we can follow up as soon as we're clear the session. Okay. Did that answer your question, James? Okay. So on Friday, I started an in-place upgrade on a server, which is insane. You might consider an in-place upgrade for a client operating system, but for a server, you would never want to do that, because servers usually, well, they serve lots and lots of users, right? So a server system is designed to support multiple users or multi-user environments. And it's not uncommon for servers to provide resources to hundreds, if not thousands of individuals simultaneously. So this is another thing that you would never want to do on a server. But I wanted to demonstrate all of the trade-offs when people think they're going to save a lot of time by doing an in-place upgrade. So we had a Windows 2019 server, and I connected the install media for server 2022. And right before this screen, after class on Friday ended, there was another screen that asked, do you want to install server core, or if you want to install server with the desktop experience? Because my 2019 system had a desktop experience, had I chosen incorrectly, it would have been bad, because you're not supposed to be able to change types between core with his which is nothing but a command line environment and no GUI, versus a server installation with desktop experience. And the very next screen that showed up was here. It says, do you want to keep your files, settings, and apps? And I selected that because if I'm doing an in-place upgrade, I want to keep all my applications, I want to keep all my data, I want to keep all that. So this is a convenience matter, right? And again, on a server, you just wouldn't do this. I'm going to go ahead and walk through the outcomes that followed here so that you can see and understand just how much trouble this approach will cause. And hopefully at the end of these screens and explaining each step, you'll agree with me, you know what? We should just save the data. If it's a server that hundreds or thousands of users depend on, we'll wipe it down to the bare metal, start from scratch with a fresh operating system, and have something that's smooth, fast, and hot. It'll be stable. And we won't have any leftover junk in the mix, right? So that's the goal. And then as soon as we finish the review of the in-place upgrade outcomes, again, we will clear the session for about 30 seconds. I will close the Zoom session, open a new one, and we'll review each of the items on the Module 1 assessment and store that separately in the Module 1 folder. So it basically flashed another screen that said, okay, I'm going to install this. I'll keep the file system and apps ready to install. And then it said your PC will restart several times. This may take a while. And it did. When it came up, you'll notice it says Server 2022 Standard. The license is activated. I used an AVMA code, which is the license code you insert during setup when you have a data center virtual machine host and you're setting up a virtual server, which is what we're doing here. Again, it's a free license for a standard server. You'll notice that the IP address didn't change. So everything looks good so far, right? And everybody sees this is a virtual machine, right? So far, so good. Does everybody remember that in the C drive, sometimes you have malicious software? So we have this directory. Did the directory go away after the in-place upgrade? Did the in-place upgrade remove the very bad app?
Doesn't seem like it. I mean,
No. Yeah, there's the proof. That's the proof right there. It did not. Okay. What about the bad application that is stored inside the programs folder? Did it remove that one? No. Nope. How about inside the user profile for tChristian? Now, inside the users directory, I have a login called tChristian, and there's an app data folder, a hidden directory with local information where apps that are installed off the start menu with the Microsoft Store are usually loaded. My question to you is, did the Spank Me Ouch app get deleted when I did the in-place upgrade? No, it didn't, right? And so that's one of the trade-offs of doing an in-place upgrade. Do you really get rid of nasty stuff on your system? On 3 different levels, we have just proved it did not. And this is a system hundreds or thousands of users depend on. Not a good idea, right? Here's another little tidbit. When you look at the C drive, oh, now we have old junk from what? The old version of Windows. So now we're cluttering up our C drive. We're filling up our C drive with old versions of the Windows, the 2019 version. It takes the 2019 operating system and it stuffs some things in there. So now I have clutter in my C drive. Do you think a server that supports hundreds or even thousands of users should have a cluttered operating system drive? I'm just asking the question. What do you think? I don't think so. Yes, that's correct. Now, I went in there and I said, okay, I have old clutter. I'm going to do some maintenance. So I'm going to do extra maintenance to try to get rid of that old Windows, right? I'm going to go into disk cleanup and disk defrag, and I'm going to go ahead and process that. So I have to take extra steps to do that. And I'm hoping that it'll get rid of the old version of the Windows. So I have to do additional maintenance in it on top of the hoops that I just went through, restarting. Oh, and here we go. Here we go. We have to reboot yet again after we end up doing the disk cleanup and the defrag. So if I had started with a clean installation that included the upgrades, would I have to keep rebooting? No. But here I am saving so much time, right? No. This is a special topic right here. So what you see here are two servers that are special. They're called domain controllers. And what you're going to learn soon is that when you deploy operating systems, you have to install, configure, support, troubleshoot, maintain, upgrade. That is best done in what's called an enterprise environment or an Active Directory domain environment. That's where everybody's logins and accounts are stored on domain controllers. Now, the thing I'm going to tell you here is that while you can upgrade in place with a new operating system on a server, even though it's ill-advised, you would never, ever do this on a machine that is the domain controller. Here you see we have a user domain that I have set up called UVI, except I've added the two letters in front, GR UVI, Groovy. Yeah, I'm an old guy, right? I'm an old goat. Groovy used to be a really cool word, right? Like OG or something like that, right? You know, when you look at the lingo that your generation is using now, these two machines are the domain controllers that store all of the computer accounts, user accounts. Put another way, if this were the pair of machines for UVI, 2,500 login accounts for faculty, staff, and students would be on these two machines. Now, if you upgrade these machines in place, you can risk corrupting the entire account database for the entire organization. So where you might be able to get away with doing it on a server that supports hundreds or thousands of users by providing resources, that's one thing. But you'd be insane. You'd be certifiably nuts, as in psycho, as in off your rocker, as in what the heck were you thinking? If you upgrade it in place on domain controllers, what you have to do instead, and I want to talk you through this real quick, you have to create a whole new server, load it from bare metal from scratch, server 2022. Then you promote this thing by adding the role for a domain controller, Active Directory Services. So it becomes a domain controller. Then you transfer the roles that these two machines are performing. They're called FSMO roles or FSMO roles for short. Then you would add a second domain controller that is 2022, and you'd balance the FSMO roles so that those 2,500 user accounts are protected. Then and only then would you take these two machines, you would remove the Active Directory domain controller role, you would retire these, and then you do something called shooting it in the head. These special servers can never be duplicated. You can never name another machine the same name. So I can never have a different Sirius. I can never have a different Alnitak. I can't have like a new and improved Alnitak or a new and improved Sirius, because they were previously the brains of the entire university. And what I'd have to do if I had a new server, the domain would start to get confused and would go, oh, I see Sirius again. So the thing to do is to remove the domain controller role, then retire it and take it out of commission and delete it so it's never active again. We call that shooting it in the head. So this is one case where, well, like the server we just showed you, well, you might think of doing it. But when it comes to these two machines, you would never, ever, ever do it unless you wanted to destroy an entire environment, like rolling the dice, you know? Oh, let's see how many accounts go boom. Oh, let's see how many, and I'm oversimplifying the case, but I just wanted you to understand exactly what's at stake here. This is like the final stroke of, especially when it comes to servers. Why would you ever upgrade in place, right? Just too many reasons why you wouldn't. All right. Given the information I have just provided you about our outcomes for the in-place upgrade of one of our servers, can you think of any questions that would be good to ask at this point? Okay, we're going to stop sharing. What I'd like to do is stop the recording, leave the Zoom session, close this out. I will post this recording in today's, in the folder for session recordings in module 2. But what we'll do now is as soon as 30 seconds from now, I want you to jump back into Zoom. We'll open up our assessment for module 1, and we'll go through each of the items so that you have something to reconcile your stuff with, okay?